I never thought I would be the one walking away from my own brother's wedding. Standing in that parking lot, gift box still in my hands, I looked back at the glowing windows of the ballroom where 200 guests were celebrating. Somewhere inside a metal folding chair sat empty by the kitchen door. That was my seat, my place at my own brother's wedding. 28 years of brotherhood, and this is what it came down to. Before I tell you what happened inside that ballroom, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If stories about family betrayal and standing up for yourself speak to you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, the ending of this story is something you will not expect. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Derek and I were not just brothers. We were best friends. Growing up in a small town outside of Columbus, Ohio, we did everything together. There were only 3 years between us, which meant we shared the same circle of friends, the same interests, and for most of our childhood, the same bedroom. Our house was modest, a 3-bedroom ranch with a backyard just big enough for a basketball hoop that our father installed when I was 7 years old. I remember countless summer evenings out there with Derek, shooting hoops until our mother called us in for dinner. He always let me win a few games, even though he was bigger and better. That was Derek. He looked out for me. When I was in 8th grade, a group of older kids started picking on me after school. They would wait by the bike racks and knock my books out of my hands, call me names, push me around. I never told anyone because I was embarrassed, but somehow Derek found out. He showed up one afternoon like a force of nature, got right in their faces and told them if they ever touched his brother again, they would answer to him. They never bothered me after that. When Derek went off to college, I felt like I had lost a part of myself, but he called every week without fail. He would tell me about his classes, his new friends, the parties he went to, and he always ended every call the same way. "Take care of yourself, little brother. I am always here if you need me." The day he graduated, I drove 4 hours to be there. After the ceremony, he pulled me aside, put his hand on my shoulder, and said something I never forgot. "No matter where life takes us, you are my blood. Nothing changes that." I believed him. I believed him completely. Then Valerie came into the picture. Derek met her 3 years ago at a networking event in Chicago. He had moved there after getting a job at a marketing firm, and she was working at her father's real estate company. From what Derek told me, it was love at first sight. She was beautiful, ambitious, and sophisticated, everything he thought he wanted. He called me the night they met, his voice full of excitement. "I have never met anyone like her," he said. "She's incredible. I was happy for him. Truly. My brother deserved to find someone special." The first time I met Valerie was at a family dinner about 2 months into their relationship. She walked into our parents' house like she was appraising it for sale. Her eyes moved over everything, the worn carpet, the family photos in their mismatched frames, the old furniture that had been there since I was a kid. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. During dinner, she asked me what I did for a living. I told her I was a carpenter, self-employed. I built custom furniture, did renovation work, whatever paid the bills. She looked at me for a moment, then said, that is interesting." And then she turned to Derek and started talking about a restaurant they were planning to visit that weekend. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she was just nervous meeting the family. Maybe I was reading too much into it. But over the next few years, I started to notice changes in Derek. He called less often. When I would suggest getting together, he was always busy. Our annual fishing trip, something we had done every summer since I was 16, got canceled 2 years in a row. Valerie had other plans. Valerie wanted to travel. Valerie thought fishing was boring. I tried to be understanding. He was building a life with someone. That required sacrifices, but a part of me missed the brother who used to call every week, who used to put his hand on my shoulder and tell me He would always be there. 6 months before the wedding, Derek called to tell me they were engaged. I was genuinely happy for him. "Congratulations," I said. "I am so happy for you both." "When is the wedding?" He told me they were planning a fall ceremony at a boutique hotel outside Chicago. Valerie's father was covering most of the cost, so it was going to be a big affair. Then I asked the question that had been on my mind since he said the word engaged. "What can I do to help best man duties, bachelor party planning?" "Whatever you need, just let me know." There was a pause, a long one. Derek cleared his throat. "Actually, Valerie has hired a wedding planner. Everything is pretty much taken care of, but I appreciate the offer." I pushed forward. "What about the wedding party? Am I going to be your best man?" Another pause, longer this time. "We are still figuring out the wedding party," he said finally. "I will let you know." 2 weeks later, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw a post from Valerie. She had uploaded photos from what looked like a dinner party, all smiles and champagne glasses raised. The caption read, "So grateful to have our wedding party together. Cannot wait for the big day." I looked at the photo more closely. There was Derek's arm around a guy I did not recognize. The next photo tagged him. "Marcus Derek's best man," it said. Marcus. Valerie's college friend, not me, not the brother who had been there for every important moment of Derek's life. I sat there staring at my phone screen for a long time, trying to process what I was seeing. I did not make a big deal out of it. I called Derek, kept my voice casual, asked about the wedding plans. He told me Marcus was best man because Valerie wanted the wedding party to be balanced and her maid of honor was Marcus's girlfriend. It made sense from a logistical standpoint, he explained. I said I understood, and I tried to. I really did. The weeks leading up to the wedding brought more disappointments. The first came when I realized I was not invited to the rehearsal dinner. I found out through my mother, who called me sounding uncomfortable. "Honey," she said, "Valerie mentioned that the rehearsal dinner is just for the wedding party and immediate family." I did not understand. "Mom?" "I am immediate family," I said. "I am Derek's brother," she sighed. "I know, sweetheart." "But she said the venue has limited space." "I am sure it is just an oversight." It was not an oversight. A few days before the rehearsal dinner, my cousin Bryce posted a photo on Instagram. He was at a restaurant I recognized as the rehearsal dinner venue. The place was packed, not just with wedding party members, but with people I had never seen before. Valerie's friends, her co-workers, people who had known Derek for maybe a year or two, but not me, not the brother who taught Derek how to ride a bike, who stayed up with him all night when our grandmother died, who gave him half of my savings when he needed to fix his car in college. I called Derek that night. My voice was calm, but my hands were shaking. "Derek, why was I not invited to the rehearsal dinner?" He sighed. "Look, I know it is complicated. Valerie handled all the planning. There were a lot of people to accommodate, but the wedding day will be different. Okay? Just trust me." I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe that my brother, my best friend, would not let me down on the day that was supposed to mean so much to both of us. Then I got the wedding invitation in the mail. It was beautiful, expensive cardstock with gold lettering. Inside was a list of guests for carpooling purposes, something Valerie had included for coordination. I was scanning through the names when one jumped out at me like a slap in the face. Megan, my ex-girlfriend, the woman who had cheated on me with her coworker 2 years ago and then told me it was my fault because I did not make enough money and had no ambition. The woman who said the most hurtful things anyone has ever said to me. She was invited to my brother's wedding. I called Derek immediately. "Why is Megan on the guest list?" I asked, my voice tight. He sounded uncomfortable. "Yeah, about that. Megan and Valerie became friends through a book club a few months ago. By the time I realized she was on the list, the invitations had already gone out. I am sorry, man. I know it is awkward. Awkward, that was the word he used. Having your brother's wife invite the woman who destroyed your heart and then blamed you for it. Awkward. I told him I would still come. He was my brother. This was his wedding. I would swallow my pride and be there for him. The day of the wedding arrived. I put on the best suit I owned, a charcoal gray three-piece that I had saved up for months to buy. I had spent extra time that morning making sure I looked presentable. I wanted Derek to be proud to have me there, even if I was not standing next to him at the altar. The gift I brought had taken me 3 months to make. It was a set of hand-crafted kitchen knives forged and shaped in my own workshop. The handles were made from walnut wood that I had sourced from a tree on our parents' property, a tree Derek and I used to climb as kids. I had engraved their initials on each blade. It was a labor of love, every hour spent working on it, filled with memories of my brother. The venue was stunning, a boutique hotel with manicured gardens and a ballroom that looked like something out of a magazine. I arrived and made my way to the reception desk where a young woman with a clipboard checked names. She looked at her list, then at me, then at her list again. Her brow furrowed. "1 moment, please," she said, and stepped away to make a phone call. After a few minutes, the wedding planner appeared. She was a tall woman in a black dress, all business. She smiled at me, but it felt rehearsed. "Your seating will be arranged after the ceremony," she said. "For now, please make your way to the garden for the service. The ceremony was beautiful. I will give Valerie that much." The flowers were perfect, the music was elegant, and Derek looked happier than I had ever seen him. But I was sitting in the last row. The very last row behind cousins I barely knew, and co-workers I had never met. From where I sat, I could see the back of my mother's head in the front row. I could see Uncle Raymond a few rows up. And I could see Megan sitting in the third row laughing at something the man next to her said, the man who she had cheated on me with. They were holding hands. I told myself the reception would be different. The ceremony seating was probably just about limited space in the garden area. The ballroom was huge. There would be plenty of room for everyone. After the ceremony, guests began making their way toward the ballroom for the reception. I followed the crowd, looking for the seating chart that would tell me where my table was. I found the elegant display near the entrance, a large board with names arranged in beautiful calligraphy. I scanned through it once, twice, 3 times. My name was not there. I felt a cold knot forming in my stomach. I approached the wedding planner who was directing guests with a practiced smile. "Excuse me," I said. "I cannot find my name on the seating chart." She looked at her tablet, typed. Something frowned. She excused herself and disappeared into the crowd. A few minutes later, Valerie appeared. She was radiant in her white gown, every hair in place, every detail perfect. But when she looked at me, there was something in her eyes that I had seen before, that appraising look, that calculation. "Follow me," she said, her voice sweet. There was a small mix-up with the seating. I followed her through the ballroom, past tables decorated with elaborate centerpieces and fine china, past the table where my parents sat, past the table where Megan was laughing with her boyfriend, all the way to the back corner of the room, right next to a door that led to the kitchen. There, sitting alone against the wall, was a single metal folding chair. Beside it was a tiny table, the kind you might use to hold a plant. No tablecloth, no place setting, no flowers. Valerie gestured toward it with a smile. "Sorry about the confusion," she said. "This is the +1 overflow area. We had more guests than expected." I stared at the chair. Then I stared at her. "+1 overflow," I repeated. "Valerie, I am Derek's brother." She tilted her head, her smile never wavering. "Yes, but you did not RSVP with a +1, and we had to make some adjustments. Family understands, right?" Behind her, the kitchen door swung open and a waiter rushed past with a tray of appetizers. The smell of cooking oil and steam wafted out. I looked around the ballroom. Over 200 guests, all seated at beautiful tables with crystal glasses and white linens. I saw people I did not recognize, friends of friends, distant acquaintances. They all had proper seats. But me, the groom's only brother, was standing next to a folding chair by the kitchen. I looked at table 5, where Megan was sitting. She had a full place setting, a glass of champagne in her hand, a centerpiece of white roses in front of her. Her boyfriend, the one she had left me for, was pulling out her chair for her like a gentleman. They had a seat. They had a place. I had a metal folding chair, and the sound of dishes clanking behind me. My mother caught my eye from across the room. Her face went pale. She started to stand, but my father put a hand on her arm and shook his head. "Don't make a scene," I could almost hear him say. Uncle Raymond was watching too, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with anger on my behalf. But he stayed in his seat. Everyone always stays in their seat. I looked for Derek. He was across the room talking to a group of guests, laughing at something one of them said. He had not noticed, or maybe he had chosen not to notice. Maybe it was easier that way. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds. I looked down at the gift box in my hands. 3 months of work, countless hours of shaping and forging and sanding, a piece of my heart wrapped up in tissue paper and ribbon. I thought about all the times I had been the one to step aside to make room to understand, all the phone calls that went unreturned, all the invitations that got lost, all the times I told myself that Derek was just busy, that he still cared, that blood meant something. And then something inside me shifted. It was not anger exactly, it was clarity. I picked up the gift box that I had set on that ridiculous little table. Valerie noticed the movement and turned back to me, her smile faltering for just a moment. "Where are you going?" she asked. "The dinner is about to start." I looked her directly in the eyes, held her gaze, and, in a voice that was calm but carried across the corner of the ballroom, I said, "You said this seat is for +1s, right? Well, +1 this." I placed the gift box, 3 months of my life and love, right on the seat of that metal folding chair. Then I turned around and walked away. The ballroom went quiet around me. I could feel every pair of eyes following my path toward the exit. My footsteps echoed on the polished hardwood floor. One step, then another, then another. I did not look back at Valerie. I did not look at the guests whispering behind their hands. I kept my eyes forward on the door on the way out on freedom. I had just stepped out of the ballroom when I heard my name, Derek's voice urgent and strained. I kept walking through the lobby toward the main entrance. He caught up to me near the coat check, grabbing my arm. "What are you doing?" he hissed. "You are embarrassing me in front of everyone." I stopped, turned to face him. For the first time in years, I really looked at my brother, at the man he had become, at the choices he had made. "I am embarrassing you," I asked, my voice steady. "Did you see where your wife put me? Derek, did you even notice his face flushed? I did not know about the seating," he stammered. Valerie handled all of that. I trusted her to take care of everything. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You trusted her? You trusted her to take care of your brother. And this is what she did. A folding chair by the kitchen. No place setting, no seat at any table. While my ex-girlfriend, the woman who cheated on me and tore my heart out, gets a spot at table 5 with her new boyfriend. That is what your trust looks like, Derek." He opened his mouth to respond, but I was not finished. 3 months, I said, my voice cracking just slightly. "I spent 3 months making that gift for you. Every night after work, I was in my shop crafting something that would mean something, because I wanted you to have a piece of us, a piece of our childhood, something to remind you of where you came from. And you could not even make sure I had a seat at a table." "Not even that." Derek stood there silent. I watched him search for words and come up empty. When did I become less important than her book club friends? I asked. When did I become a +1 in my own brother's life? When did you stop being the guy who said blood is blood and nothing changes that? He looked down at the floor. I waited. Part of me, the part that still remembered the brother who defended me from bullies who called me every week from college, who told me he would always be there, that part wanted him to say something, to apologize, to tell me this was all a terrible mistake and we could fix it. But when he finally spoke, it was not an apology. "I am sorry you feel that way," he said. "Maybe we can talk about this later." After the reception, I do not want to ruin Valerie's day. Valerie's day, not our day, not his day, Valerie's day. That was when I knew. The brother I had grown up with, the one who put family first, who would have fought for me, no matter what, that brother was gone. Maybe Valerie had changed him. Maybe he had let himself be changed. Either way, the result was the same. I looked at Derek one last time. "I hope your marriage brings you happiness," I said. "I truly do. But I am not going to stand in a corner being treated like an afterthought just to keep the peace. I deserve better than that. And honestly, Derek, so do you. One day you are going to realize what kind of person you married. I just hope it is not too late." I turned and walked out the door. This time, he did not follow. The parking lot was quiet. The autumn air was cool against my face, and I stood there for a moment, breathing it in. I did not feel victorious. I did not feel satisfied. I just felt empty and strangely free. That is when I saw Uncle Raymond leaning against a car near the edge of the lot. He pushed himself up when he saw me and walked over. "Saw everything through the window," he said. "I am proud of you, son." I shook my head. "I just blew up my brother's wedding. What is there to be proud of?" Roman put his hand on my shoulder just like Derek used to do. "It takes real courage to walk away from something that hurts you," he said, "even when everyone else expects you to stay and smile and pretend everything is fine. That is not weakness. That is strength." He pressed his car keys into my hand. "Take my car. Go home. I will catch a ride with your folks later." I tried to refuse, but he insisted. "Family is not just blood," he said as I unlocked the door. "Family is who shows up for you. Remember that." I drove home that night with the windows down, letting the cold air wash over me. My phone buzzed with messages I did not read. When I finally got back to my apartment, I sat in the darkness for a long time. Not thinking, just being. The days that followed were hard. My mother called crying, apologizing for not standing up for me. I told her it was okay, even though it was not. Not really. Derek called once. I let it go to voicemail. His message was rambling, half apology, half justification. I deleted it without listening to the end. Some words, once you hear them, you cannot unhear them. I was not ready to take that risk. I threw myself into work. My shop became my sanctuary. The smell of sawdust and wood stain, more comforting than any words could be. I took on new projects, pushed myself harder, stayed later, and slowly, day by day, I started to rebuild. 3 months after the wedding, I got a call from a restaurant owner downtown. She had seen some of my work at a local craft fair and wanted to commission a full set of tables and chairs for her new location. It was the biggest job I had ever landed. Uncle Raymond helped me connect with suppliers, and my cousin Bryce, who had always been on the fringes of family gatherings, like me, started coming by the shop to help out. We would work side by side, not talking much, but the silence was comfortable. He understood what it meant to be overlooked. We both did. I started building a new circle, not to replace my family, but to supplement it. Friends who showed up when they said they would, colleagues who respected my work, people who saw me, really saw me, and valued what they found. I heard through relatives that Derek and Valerie's marriage was not going as smoothly as the wedding photos suggested. There were arguments, money problems despite her family's wealth, Valerie's controlling nature apparently extended beyond guest lists and seating charts. I did not take pleasure in hearing this. I did not wish him unhappiness. But I would be lying if I said I was surprised. Derek reached out a few times over the following year. Texts, mostly. Birthday wishes. A Merry Christmas message. I responded politely but briefly. The door was not completely closed, but it was not open either. Some relationships need time, others need space. I was still figuring out which one ours was. I think about that night sometimes, that metal folding chair, the sound of my footsteps on the ballroom floor. I think about what I could have done differently. Maybe I could have stayed, smiled through it, kept the peace like everyone expected, but at what cost? Every time you accept being treated like you do not matter, you start to believe it. And I refuse to believe that about myself. Not anymore. If this story resonates with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to walk away from family to protect your own self-worth? Drop your experience in the comments below. If this story touched you, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you have not already, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for being part of this community. I hope you find the strength to stand up for yourself, whatever your folding chair moment might be. Take care of yourselves and remember your worth is not determined by where others choose to seat you.